Hi, name's Jim. So what I got going on today is I just pulled this observational panel from my hive, and it's been about a week. And so I am noticing a decline in the varroa mites. It's subtle, but definitely a decline. That's good. So they're going to be going into the winter soon, and the hive still looks overall healthy. I've lost 4 hives this time of year, well way before this, from the varroa mites and their infections. So what I got on this panel is I have a lot of, well, quite a few anyway, of wax moth larvae just crawling around. So what they did last year, without my knowledge, I'm not one to go in my hives unless I have either multiple reasons or a really good one. So when I watched my hive, what I thought what they were doing was building out the frames that I put in there from the previous year. What they were actually doing was destroying what the wax moths destroyed. So they were breaking that down and just leaving it empty. They left the frames empty that they tore down, that the wax moths destroyed. So the whole time I thought they were rebuilding it. Well, oh, they're either rebuilding that or they're drawing out that frame that I put in there. No, I had to remove I think 7 or 8 frames that were either empty, no comb, or they never drew out the frames that I put in there that were empty frames. And I had wax squares in each corner and they didn't touch them. So what I did is I downsized the hive to 1 brood box from 2. So now what it is, it's a brood box and just a super. So I'm hoping they'll be able to manage the wax moths and kind of not have to rebuild all that comb. That's a lot of work for them. And so what I also, because my bees that I bought in a package, they are farm bees, so they're bred to breed quickly. Lots of bees. She lays constantly, 24/7. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking out the brood frames so that she doesn't have much place to lay. So a couple frames to lay eggs, and that's all she's going to get. That'll force her into taking the breaks, and the varroa mite count will come down precipitously from there. Well, please subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell. I appreciate that. And so the count here is still quite a few. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's quite a few mites on this thing, and yeah, there's quite a few. But I would say compared to the last time I pulled it, and it was out there for about a week, I would say there's about less than half of what there was before. So the count, this was all packed with varroa mites. So yeah, it looks much better. So it's going down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another panel over there, wax it up, and clean this one up. And what I'll do is oh, I'm glad that didn't break. Oh, looks like a hive beetle. See, I got ants in there, hive beetles. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to wax up a new observational panel and leave it in there also for a week and just get an idea of how much is dropping. And then I'll know whether or not to add some Happy Guard to help get them through the winter. Happy Guard is made from thyme oil. It's just plant-based. But me, being an organic dude, I don't like to put anything in my hive that has anything in it, because somebody else fiddled with it. I don't know if they got something in there, a mixture that's not good for my bees, that can hurt my bees. So yeah, I'm really hesitant to put any man-made thing in anything, really. Kind of like that processed food, you know, they put all those chemicals in there to make the foods addictive. And the restaurants, they do the same thing. They'll add artificial flavoring and stuff like that, which we know now is addictive, to bring back their customers. And so, yeah, I don't go to restaurants. I don't go. The only food I eat is stuff I grow, pretty much. And so, yeah, this is what so I put little circles on here, and that kind of makes it more difficult for the robots to crawl around. And that is how I do that. So this panel is ready to go in, and I'll see you out there. Okay, so what I got here is my new panel and my new redesigned hive setup. So this just slides right underneath here, just like that. Got my filler stick, and that's it. And so, so this used to be in the front where the bees came in and out. I got the same thing over here now. So initially when I designed it, it was in the front. I threw that thing up so fast I wasn't even thinking about anything other than getting that thing up. And you know, designing it, throwing it in there, and monitoring it. And so I put a slider out through the front. So when I dismantled the hive to downsize it, that's when I redesigned it. And so it's like this one. And so now I can just pull the panel from the back without all the bees getting on the oil, stinging me. Well, I only got stung once. I pulled it, I can't even tell you how many times I pulled it from the front. Probably 50 times? I don't know, a lot of times. And I only got stung once. There were so many bees in and around down there, I just kept going about my business. I was thinking to myself, huh. When I looked down there and saw all the bees right there on me pulling that out, I thought, I should put some gloves on. Well, that's what happens when we ignore our instincts, right? When we ignore that internal wisdom. Yeah, I gotta stay. So this one's the same way. Check the varroa mites here, and they have 0. So the last time I pulled this one was probably 2-3 weeks, and I see nothing. So this is the one. This is the swarm that I caught, and there is 0 evidence of varroa mites, where this one is heavily infested. And the reason why this one is heavily infested is I bought it as a bee package from a bee farm, and those queens got wet and swelled. Those queens are bred on the farms to mass produce all the time, so they can make lots of bees, sell lots of packages, make lots of queens. And that's not the kind of queen for someone who's just a backyard beekeeper like me, right? Those kind of bees are for farmers to mass produce and to make mini hives to send out to the orchards for pollination, right? And so we should avoid buying farm animals for farm bees for beekeeping. It just doesn't make sense, right? So yeah, I lost 4 hives because I bought farm bees. The queens are bred for fast breeding, and fast breeding breeds fast breeding of varroa mites, right? You know. And so the swarm, what she's doing, is she'll lay for about 3-4 days, and then she's done for like 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, what she's doing is she's maintaining the size of the hive to a certain level, just to keep it healthy. She's doing a great job. That's how it is in nature. It's not in nature. It's not. Let's just outgrow this thing right now. Let's outgrow this hive every 3 weeks. No, and then split every 3 weeks. No, that's not how nature works. In nature, they function more rationally. Us farmers, people do farming, not me, but yeah, we don't do it rationally. So if they took, if farmers shifted the way that they do their hives to disperse them like 10, take 10 beehives and disperse them fairly widely in an area. And then section B, same thing. If they did that and got rid of those queens that are bred for mass production, and then sold those as packages, people like us who buy packages just have a backyard, just have some bees in our yard, hives in our yard, we wouldn't have to suffer the consequences of all the chemicals, using all the chemicals and all that unorganic stuff. This swarm here that I caught, I've done nothing. I've had to do nothing. It just takes care of itself, right? This one here, constant maintenance. Are you okay today? What are you doing today? Oh, that's happening. I need to take care of that. Oh my gosh. So constant maintenance on this farm beehive. And so what I'm going to do in spring is I'm going to pinch this. First I'll make some queens from this one. And then once those go out and get mated, well, I might not wait until they're mated. So I can just take a queen from, so I'll probably have a nuke box and throw some nursing bees in there, throw some frames with some eggs, and I'll probably put some cells in there. And then they'll make a bunch of queen cells, and then I can pinch this queen, and I'll probably pinch that one too, because I don't know how old she is. They typically live 2 to 3 years, and if you have a queen that's getting up that age, they can die at any time, even in the winter. Then you lose your hive. Late fall, when there's no drones, you can lose your hive. So it's best to probably replace your queen, pinch your queen every 2 years. It also helps to maintain a healthier hive. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be replacing my queens probably every 2 years. So I'll replace them in spring, next spring. I'll keep them the following spring. So that'll be 1 year, and I might keep them the following spring, and then replace them the third spring. That sounds like 3 years, doesn't it? But if they get mated in April of 2026, and they go a whole year of 2027, that's 1 year. And then I go again 2028. And then let her breed. I might let her breed up until maybe June, and then pinch her out. But you got the idea, right? What I deliver is concepts, ideas, perceptions, right? And that's all I deliver. And so, all right, that's it. So I'm going to show you the front. And this is what the front looks like now. So you can get an idea of two different. It was so the two hives were so different. Were so different, and so yeah, this is where I slid that out underneath here while the bees were flying out. Right? It's like, yeah, that was pretty crazy. But you know, when you come up with an idea, it's kind of on the fly. It's kind of like engineering something. You know, you engineer something, and oh, say hello to my little friend. Hey, my little friend. Say hello. Hey, can you say hello? Look at the camera. See the camera? Look. Say smile. Can you smile? Say, Daddy, leave me alone. You're being a pest. I'm gonna change this camera over here because that sun is right in the light, and we can't have that. So, and there you go. And that is my process now that I do on both hives. Ginger, maybe you should be somewhere else. And so that was one thing I was going to mention also. So, folks who start a podcast, um, it's you know it's our instinct. We make a podcast and we throw it on there. When we look to see how many views we get the next day or something, bad idea. Um, there's been folks who have put hundreds of hours and money into making what they thought was going to be the best podcast ever. Good information, high quality, right? And they either got zero views or just a few. And that's so discouraging for people who want to start a podcast that they'll just quit, which is understandable. I mean, you put your heart into something, and your time and money, and thinking that, you got a good thing going on, and then you realize, no, not so much. And so with YouTubing, really it's about having some ideas, some thoughts, some hobbies, or something that you do, or something that you have knowledge in, and just keep pumping them out. Just keep making them. Don't look at how many views you get. I've had podcasts where I got zero, and I've had podcasts where I got tens of thousands. Just one podcast, right? One podcast got zero. I don't know if it's still zero now, because what YouTube does is they'll periodically throw those podcasts out there that you got zero now and then. Because if anybody watches your videos, say my one video where I got tens of thousands of views, right? So there's a certain group of people that maybe watch that particular podcast, and the one that got zero actually covers similar stuff. And so what YouTube will do, using its logarithms, it'll throw that particular one that I got zero on at that group, right? Give them the opportunity to see that one. And that's how YouTube logarithms work. YouTube, when someone posts a podcast on there, YouTube is only going to go by who's already viewed something that you have, because that's all they got. Because I really didn't start thinking about doing this regularly until April of this year, 2025. And typically it takes 2 to 5 years for YouTube's logarithms to actually find your niche. It looks for your niche for you, but also at the same time, we have to come up with our own niche too, kind of like we have to come up with thoughts and ideas, perceptions, concepts of things that we can share with people that people come to appreciate, and then that group grows. And then YouTube looks for people who, say for example, someone views your video and it has certain kind of content. YouTube's logarithms look for other people who also view similar type of content, right? And that's how YouTube works. And so, people who look at it at YouTube as just a hobby, some people collect rocks, oil paint, play guitar, sing, whatever, and it's a hobby. So those who see YouTubing as a hobby, with no expectations of return of anything other than a hobby, they just like throwing their stuff on there. So that'll work for them, right? So for me, I'm able to do all these videos, and I think I've probably got 500 or 600 on there, and it's free for me to store them on there. It's like free data storage. I don't have to pay or buy, all that memory stuff, hard drives or sticks or whatever, to store all my videos. And anytime I want to get some reference from one of my videos for something, because I do lots of different things, not just beekeeping. Now, how did I do that? And I have all my videos categorized, so I'm able to actually go in there and select that video and say, how did I make that screen? How did I do that again? Without having to redesign it maybe all over again. Because what happens if we design something a specific way and we forget how we design it, but it needs to be that dimensional, or in order to fit something else correctly. Then it's good to have that reference. I got bees flying all around here. So this time of year, what I've got my entrances, easy for you to say in your head. PNPD. Say this one: psychological, sociopathic, narcissistic personality disorder. MISSI, SSI, Okay, just making sure my tongue's working. This time of year, actually, really before, about probably around 1st of August, at least around here, it can be very dangerous to be around your beehive. The marauding that's going around. Now, if you don't have any beehives around you other than yours for maybe a couple miles, no problem, you'll be fine. But apparently, I've got beehives. Somebody has beehives. This is the city, so people can only have up to 3 beehives per residence. And so somebody or in this forest, because I got a forest back here, it's protected wetlands. It's big trees. So there's always been woodpeckers back there, so there might be some beehives up in there. That could have been where I caught my swarm, I don't know. And so that's kind of how it works. So I got bees coming out right now that are got no wings. So they have what's called DWV. They just come out and they walk around until either a wasp or a yellow jacket comes and carries them away. So there you go. That's kind of my day. Well, I was talking about podcasting, wasn't I? I do that, man. I just wander. Something pops in the head. So just stick with your podcasting and don't worry about your views. Don't even look. I recommend don't even look at them. The only time I ever go in there to look at something that I put in there was to verify that, one, it got transferred correctly, because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there's glitches in my podcast on my YouTube, or sometimes there's segments that I didn't cut out, right? Or I didn't add. Because sometimes I'm doing this like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's the end of the day. I throw my stuff on, do my editing, throw it on there, then go to bed. So the editing is the last thing I do before bedtime. So sometimes it's not always clear. So I'll go on there typically after it's been released and view it and look for boo-boos, and they're there. They happen. I'm going, I don't know, is that bad enough to really go in there and delete that one and redo that? Yeah, sometimes I will, because I don't like to leave long delays. When I see long delays, what? I just go to something else. Probably you too, right? But I can always fast forward. I know I can fast forward until the guy comes back. It's not a big deal. But we folks, we're pretty impatient, right? I'm not gonna wait. What? Ain't gonna happen. Click on off of that guy. So, yeah. And so I have to say, at almost October, all my hives were dead and gone before this time. Previous ones, I got 2 here that are thriving still. The farm bees, the bromide count is obviously coming down. I can clearly see the difference between, look like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 in the previous one. This one may be a couple hundred, maybe, right? And last year, I would pull that panel out. Well, when I first put the panel in, I pulled that panel out the next day. There was already hundreds the next day. Cleaned it up, put it in, hundreds the next day. That's how close this hive got to dying out before I started doing the observational panel, the oil on it. So the bromides come through my screen. They drop on that oil and they just get covered in it, and they just literally suffocate. And so, looks like I'm going to be going into the winter with two healthy hives, most likely. because I took out the frames, most of the brooding frames, the egg laying frames out of here, so she can't lay as many eggs. And if someone gets a farm package, that's what I would recommend you do. It's not about growing your hive fast. It's about growing your hive slow. You want to grow your hive slow because when you do that, it gives your bees a chance to adapt to the viruses and their variants where you are. Right? Every location, so evolution thing, so viruses evolve different, all the time. And so that'll give your bees, by keeping the population low the first 2 years, by keeping it low, just to keep the hive balanced, right? Not growing and stacking things. The first bees package I bought in 2023, boy, this is a fast growing hive. Oh my God. I just kept stacking brood boxes one on top of the other until I got to 4. That's how fast she was laying those eggs. And I had no idea how fast those varroa mites were growing. Needless to say, that hive didn't last. I think it's best to keep a healthy hive, more organic hive, is to never go more than 1 brood box. Never. Squirrel. Yeah, you pests. They got my gardens all day. Bang! I can't scare them either. They don't scare. I've tossed like wood chips in their direction. They just look at me like, huh, I know you ain't gonna hurt me. Or something. Oh, it's funny. And so, yeah, don't ever go more. For the backyard beekeeper, never more than 1 brood box. If you want more bees, split your hive. Make a couple of queens, split your hive, and have 2 hives. They're much easier to manage. If you need to make changes or something, so much easier to do that. It was one of the reasons why I waited so long to change my design for my observational panel to be pulled out from the back, because, oh man, I need to pull off the brood box, go through that, I need to pull off the top super, go through that, I need to pull off the bottom super, brood box and go through so I had 2 brood boxes, so I had to go through the super and investigate what's going on in there. And then the top brood box, investigate what's going on there. And then the bottom brood box, investigate what's going on in there. I hate doing that because, it's so easy to roll your queen and then you have no hive. And so now everything's, all my observational panels are pulled from the back. Easy peasy, huh? Anybody who's seen my videos when I was pulling those panels out in the front, you're going like, about time, Jim. Dang. So it looks like they're bringing in a lot of pollen. They are really loading up the pollen for the winter. So I must have I got some raspberry flowers blooming, but not much else. So they're getting it from flower gardeners. There's a lot of, when you live in the city, where it's, people have their own property, and they grow their own flowers and plants and stuff. That is actually good for the bees, and so I suspect that's where they're getting it. She just flew out with an infected girl. So these bees are getting most of their food from the city gardeners, folks around here who grow flowers and stuff. And there's quite a few. And there's also a lot of wildflowers that grow around here this time of year. So my girls are getting a lot of their flowers from fields and stuff like that. Now, don't you dare. So these marauders, so I'll stick with what I was saying. So there's fields around here that have flowers this time of year. And so they're getting it from there too. So what pesters me the most here is these marauders. This is a marauder here. So this is a marauder. They're scavenging for food anywhere and everywhere they can get it, including my body. And they'll come in here and even buzz my face. Really, you're gonna go in my leg? Get out of here. So that one there is called a cornola. So cornolas are black, and mine here are predominantly Italian. Um, they're much lighter, really a light, kind of a light medium tan. Where this one here, this one's a cornola. They're black, so I can usually tell which ones are mine. But there's been some other ones around here that are also Italian-looking ones. Different hives. So I've got different hives in this area with different breeds of bees. Kind of like you got your Chihuahua all the way up to a Great Dane. Yeah, bees are like that. There's different breeds, and they have different characteristics of behaviors. How many eggs they lay, when they lay them, when they do splits, and what time of year. So there's different, there's different bees, honeybees, that have. It's kind of like that dog that chases, that herds the sheep and pit bulls for fighting or whatever. Yeah, kind of like that. And so that's kind of my day today. Well, for the bees anyway. I got a lot of things I got to do. Pick all these grapes, process them down, and a bunch of apples I need to go pick and process them down. And I think that's about all. I think I'm gonna maybe some walnuts or something. Got a walnut tree here, hazelnuts. So bringing in lots of food. That's pretty cool. I'm hoping not having to feed them because I only went through one winter last year. Last year I went through one winter with just one hive, and I fed the heck out of those girls. They had two massive die-offs because even though I was mountain feeding them, and I could see them up there eating it when I was checking to see if they needed more, and they ended up eating all the mountain feeding I did, and apparently even that wasn't enough. They did not store enough last year going into winter to get them healthy through the winter. So they had two massive die-offs, around 10,000 each time. So I came out here expecting my bees, everything looks cool, came out the next day, they're like 10,000 dead and dying, and right in front of the hive, like they just walked out, like they were on a timer. Time's up. It's you, Sue, and you, Mary, I'm staying here. Paper and scissors. How do they determine that, right? So most likely it's the oldest ones get triggered. So whatever bees are the oldest ones, or there's a pheromone that gets passed around. Yeah, I'm kind of tired anyway, and then they just check out. And so I had that happen in November last year, and then again in December, like late December, early January, somewhere in there. So that was like 20,000 girls that checked out, and still here they are. So all my instincts are that both these hives are going to survive the winter. We're bringing in a lot of good resources. Now, this one, the farm bees, they've probably got about 100 pounds of honey stored in their pantry. And I've been feeding the swarm hive they've probably eaten about 3 gallons of 1-to-1 syrup. I just fed them their last jar yesterday, and so it's empty. And so I'm hesitant to give them any more because I really don't want them to have more than 7 frames of food in there and resources. I mean, I'd be okay with 8, but she needs at least 2 frames, in my opinion, to maintain the size, therefore the health of the hive all throughout winter. She needs a place to lay. lay. So if they end up with, so if both of these end up with just 2 frames for her to lay brood, I'm chilled with that. Lots of food coming in. Actually, I haven't seen that much food coming in. Geez, I think it was since August, 1st of August, end of July. Lots of food coming in. really, all year, this hive, the farm bees, all year they brought in, all winter they brought in food like this. Yellow, orange. I have no idea where they got all that food all winter. I don't know. We got a brief snow that lasted for 2 days and they went right back out. And I would come out, check on my bees once a day usually. Well, mostly anyway, I'll just say mostly. And I would notice that they're out doing orientation navigational flights. Nice big clusters. Those were new hatchlings, right? They hatched 3 weeks earlier, or well, they don't fly out until about 4 weeks or so. So they'll hatch out after the eggs being laid. They'll hatch out about 3 weeks later, and they'll stay in there and do the nursing kind of thing, take care of the other babies, larvae, and make sure everything's fed and the queen's got her royal jelly and that kind of thing. And then after about a week or so later, up to a week later, then they'll come out. So if you just say about round it out to about 30 days, you'd be in the ballpark. And so from egg laying to coming out to foraging is about 30 days. And so they got that all. They did that orientation all winter. In fact, I don't think there was a week that went by. That's just farm bees, though, right? That's what farm bees do. They just keep laying. So I don't remember a week coming out here during the winter where I didn't notice an orientation flight. And sometimes it was like 3-4 days in a row during the winter. So every orientation flight is new girls. They're not the old ones. The old ones, they came out, they did that orientation flight, and they got it, right? They hone in each time from then. They don't have to reorientate. The box hasn't moved. The front door is still in the same place, right? Still the same address. And they have good memories when they orientate to something. They actually have good memories. They can orientate to my face and recognize me. I've had them come and land on me here, and I swear, when I'm up in the front yard, they just coming around, because they'll walk around on me, and I'm up in front, and they just land on me, and they just start walking around me. Hey, you, like they know me, Whereas the other bees that are flowering, I go on around there, yeah, they avoid me. But sometimes when I'm just out doing normal stuff, they'll just land on me and clean themselves, like they know me. I'm just gonna see here, Jim. Just kind of clean myself. How you doing? How do they think like that? I don't know. Do you? Possibly. So, so I watch these girls when they're looking for a home from another hive. I've watched them come up and orientate to one of my nuke boxes, my baited nuke boxes, and then they'll fly away, and a whole bunch more come. And then they'll fly away, and a whole bunch more come. They remember where this hive is. All they got to do is just see it once. And I watch them. They orientate right in front of this baited nuke here. They'd orientate, just like they do here on these other ones. Fly away to the original hive. Tell some more girls. And that's how I eventually ended up catching my swarm hive in this tree, in that same box. So they must. I think they prefer a certain size. Because I had 2 frames, I had 4 frames, 3 or 4 frames out baited. I had this 6 frame out. So probably something in between a 5 and 6 frame is probably, in my instincts, from what I observed, is the best size to catch a swarm. Because I also had a 10 frame baited and ready to go. I baited them all the same time, same moment, just one after the next that day. And they all these, I had 6 of them out baited, of different size nuke boxes. And out of all 6 of them, of different sizes, they chose the 6 framer. And I have one that's about a 5 framer, I think, in a cherry tree that was much higher, and the entrance was facing due south, which is supposedly their preference. Well, this was facing almost due north. They don't care. They don't care. It's all about their instincts of
they see on the inside, how it smells on the inside, the size on the inside, the shape of everything. Because they want to get an idea where they're going to put the wallpaper, paneling. you know, they, I'm gonna paint that yellow over there. And so they want to get that sense. So what happens is I had large groupings of bees in every single baited nuke that those few days at the same time. So there was bees that broke up into groups. You go over there, Sue. Take your party, and I'll go over here, and I'll go. So at the same moment, so I was walking around. I'd see a big group, and I walked around real quick, and I saw a big group in every single baited nuke at the same moment. Right, so that's how I knew they were different groups, because I didn't see any follow me as I went along. Let's follow him where he's going to see if let's check the next box, but we need to get there before he gets there. Oh shoot! So out of all those half a dozen baited nuke boxes, they chose the 6-framer. What is that, about 5.5 feet up in a tree, instead of one that was like 8 feet up in a tree. So there's a lot of myths out there about stuff. What these bees will also do, I notice, they just don't go into the entrance. When they're inspecting a nuke, they're real estate. They actually really behave like real estate brokers. They go and inspect the house, everything. I'm talking. I watched them buzz every crack, every crevice, from underneath, all the way around the top, all the way around the sides, trying to get into cracks and crevices because they want to make sure that there's no other entrances. They want that new home that they're going to recommend to the swarm, that this is safe. There's only one entrance. It's cool. So what these girls did, they were so enamored by this box, right? When that group went back to where the swarm was going to come from, they did such a wonderful margarita together, because that's what they do. They do kind of like the margarita dance, right? To convince the rest of the hive that's going to swarm out, the part of the hive that's going to swarm out, to follow them. So these bees that were doing the same thing, going to these other nuke boxes, they were going there doing their dance too. I found a place. But these girls that were in came to this box, they did the better margarita. Or maybe it was the cha-cha. Right? Ballroom dancers, right? Or maybe disco dance. Better Saturday Night Fever dance. And so, and there you go. That's kind of my day. Please subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell. Appreciate that. Help this Pinocchio channel to grow up and be a big boy. At least get a real nose. So, all right, I got to get back to work. And you have a wonderful day, a wonderful life. And there's one more thing I wanted to make a comment. So, professional podcasters. Oh, that's what I was going to say earlier, and I got sidetracked. Professional dragonflies. So dragonflies. They like to eat my bees. They just swept them right out of the air. So professional podcasters made recommendations that somebody's going to make a podcast to go on other media outlets and put your material on other media outlets, get attention, talk about YouTube. I haven't talked about YouTube on any of those, so I went on Threads, I went on Instagram, Facebook. There's some other ones I haven't gone on that maybe I should, but as a new podcaster, I'm not going to flood my time with that stuff, right? I'm going to go slow, take it easy, pace myself, learn a little bit now and then, and not worry about it. And so I went on to these Threads. Well, I'm just going to talk about Threads and Instagram. Well, mostly Instagram for the moment. So I'm posting my material on Instagram, and I'm getting mostly these girls that are, most of them are Asian area, Chinese kind of looking, Japanese, and they are into cryptocurrency. Probably 100% of them if not very, very, very close. Right? And so I'm going, what is this? They're not here to meet people or just to get ideas or to explore, make friends. They're actually in it to get people to invest in their um, broker aspect of what they created as a cryptocurrency broker. So anyway, so I'm trying to, and so they're sending me these likes, and follows. So I follow them back, and they take me down this cryptocurrency rabbit hole. I'm going, no, just view my profile. Just, I viewed your profile. You go view my profile, and that doesn't happen. They don't care about your profile. If you're a podcaster and you're just doing that because the professional podcasters recommend you do that, they don't care about your profile in Instagram or anywhere else. The only thing they care about is meet, greet, and then start asking how old you are, what do you do for a living, where do you live, because where we live has sometimes a lot to do with our income, right? How much money we might have, and our age. Well, the older the person is, the more likely it is they have expendable income. And see, what do they ask? They ask age, what do you do for a living? I've had some that made comments on how much I make. What was it? So age, what I do for a living, income, where I live. So those are the only questions that they ask. They don't ask normal questions when you go to make friends. Hey, I noticed your on your posts you had this and that, and you sing and you do beekeeping and you do that and oil. No, they don't care. They only want your money. They want your money so that they can invest it. Or of course, there's other people that just want to scam you out of your money, and that's what I experienced on like threads and Instagram, right? People who want to use you and get into your wallet for their own personal gain. And that's Instagram and threads so far. Now, of course, that's not the whole thing. And there's a lot of cool stuff in Instagram, and that doesn't go on. But there's a segment in Instagram that's all they do. And if we get trapped in that segment, which is what I did, I've only been on Instagram, I think I've only put stuff in there lately, like last month or two. Yeah. My Instagram's really young. And boy, those girls came right out of the woodwork. Clicking for me to follow them. Follow. Going, yeah, sure, why not? That's why I'm here, to get people to follow me, to watch my profile, watch my YouTube stuff, and go to YouTube channel. No, it didn't work out that way. Wrong crowd. So what I need to do is create a lot of shorts then from my videos, create shorts that are interesting, and then throw those onto Instagram and onto reels and posts and stuff like that. And so that's what I'm gonna end up doing. Anyway, I thought I'd share that for you folks who are thinking about starting a podcast or have one. Yeah, it's a hobby thing. Don't think about making money. The odds are like 98% that you're not going to ever see a penny from any YouTube podcast that you make, unless you get monetized, which is still about, what is that? 93% of people never get monetized and start a YouTube channel, right? So I recommend don't think about money if you do. Think about collecting rocks. I seen some agates yesterday. I think I saw them around this. Right? That's how you want to see YouTube. Any other way, it ain't going to go your way. Those are the odds. Now, if you were to find a really cool niche with a certain consistency of something, then you might be able to get monetized fairly quickly. But for me, I have all these different hobbies, and I just talk about them and show them and give concepts and ideas, and that's all I'm interested in doing. Right? I'm not going to be talking about the stock markets or today's news and posting football games, and that's not my forte. But I wouldn't care, wouldn't want to do it. I'd find it boring. So, and there you go. And that's it. Bye now.